thing we're going to jump into today is we're going to talk about what we did yesterday, our learning that we did in our groups. We're going to review point of view, and we're also going to talk about the points of view that you identified in the Great K-pop tree. The third thing we're going to do is we're going to have a comparison of the Great K-pop tree and the Lorax. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to go back in and you're going to be looking to see which characters share the same point of view about how we should treat our environment. And then you're going to make some connections between those two texts and give me some evidence to support it. Okay? All right? The fourth thing is you're going to establish your own point of view and make a connection to the two texts and support your point of view with evidence. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look back at the Great K-pop tree from yesterday. And we talked about point of view. Who in this room has a point of view? All of us. Very good, Carly. Everybody in this room has a point of view. Well, what does it mean for all of us to have a point of view? What do you think that means?
We have our own feelings.
We have our own feelings. Very good. Point of view is just establishing how we see a situation. Let me ask you something. Do you think everybody shares the same point of view about those uniforms you're wearing?
No.
No! JR, do you love wearing school uniforms? No! JR's point of view is he doesn't like to wear school uniforms. Raise your hand if you share that point of view that you don't like to wear school uniforms. Okay? Looks like pretty much everybody in here doesn't want to wear their school uniform. Well, that's your point of view. You don't like to wear it. And then you have a reason of why you don't want to wear that school uniform. What about you, Maddie? Why don't you like to wear school uniforms?
I like to wear them every single day.
So you look the same every single day. This is your point of view. Our class pretty much doesn't like wearing uniforms because we like to be bright and colorful and wear our own stuff so we kind of stand out. Like I did. Yeah. So each table group got one of these characters. And your job was to reread the Great K-pop tree, this handy-dandy graphic organizer. And you had to go in and you had to find your fabulous character. And you had to tell what that character was saying. And we talked about when they're talking characters, we had that big fancy word called dialogue. Remember? And what were the things in the text that clued us to know they were talking? What were they, Carly?
Because they put those little lines.
Those little lines. Remember? The quotation marks in the air. So that let me know with dialogue.
That means they're talking.
They're exactly right, that they're talking. After you found that statement and you wrote that statement down, that evidence, what's the second thing you had to do? You had to tell me something. Help him out, Cheyenne. What do you have to tell me?
Tell them why it's important.
Exactly. So you had to tell me why that statement was important. So you identified that each character had to convince Senior not to do what?
Cut down
The K-pop tree. So you had to realize that every one of those characters had the same purpose. They were all trying to convince Senior not to cut that tree down. All right, Bailey?
Not to cut down the tree.
But why?
Because it was their behavior.
Okay, so each character had a reason of why they didn't want the tree gone. Some characters needed the tree for what? Debbie, what is food? Shelter. What else?
Home.
Shelter and home's the same.
Plants to grow.
Plants to grow. Oxygen. Good. So everybody had to have the tree to have life. They had to have it to survive. Today, you're going to work with your partners. And I'm going to make you put your thinking cap on. So go ahead and put the thinking cap on right now. The invisible, put it on. Mistletoe sprinkled some magic for you. You ready? And today, you're going to find the character who shares the same point of view with the character you had from the Great K-pop tree. Okay? What character did we do together yesterday? Who remembers?
Boa constrictor.
Boa constrictor. So that means Miss Sebren Miss Sebren is going to go back into the Lorax, and she's got to find one of the animals who shares that same point of view, who feels the same way, has that same opinion of how to treat the tree. Once Miss Sebren finds the animal, she's got to put in the statement that animal makes to the once-ler. So I've got to put in that dialogue that shows that my characters do what?
Talk.
Talk. Good, Carly. Quotation marks are going to show me where that statement begins and ends. So this is going to be what the character says to the once-ler. The second thing I'm going to do is I've got to identify why this is important to that character. Now, am I just going to say because this is what I think?
No.
What am I going to do with that question? What am I going to do with this question?
Restate.
Restate it. Man, Carly is on fire today. I need to give her some dojo.
That's what I was
She is on fire. Yes, I'm going to restate it. So it says, why is this statement important? I'm going to say what? This statement is
important because.
Very good. So I'm going to see all the restatements of my friend. You're going to tell me why that statement's important to that character. Okay? Then, as soon as you have this, you're going to jump to the next one. And you're going to have to tell me, why must this character convince the once-ler not to chop the truffle trees down? So that's the connection. What does that animal need the truffle tree for? This is going to be done with your tape. All right, so if you're working in your groups, we've got to think about how we're going to treat our group members. Are there any questions about the expectations for this activity?
No, ma'am.
All right, I'm going to see that you're working quietly as you work together, and I'm going to see everybody's participating. If you forget one of the steps to working in groups, the poster's right here on the wall, okay? If you have questions, ask the people in your group, and then I will come to you, okay? All right, my friends, you may get started in your groups. Why was it important for the once-ler to know what was happening to them?
Now we need to write what the Lord said about the Bible because
They had to do
now things
cutting down the tree.
Want to restate?
The Lorax does not want the man to cut down the trees because the animals live there. And if they couldn't cut down all the trees, they wouldn't be able to eat. And they will have to send their animals away.
The character statement to the once-ler about the barbie is the Lorax that with the little quotation marks.
Yes, we did.
And my poor Bible.
Everyone has correctly identified the dialogue, that talking characters piece. You also identify why the statement was important. Why is it so important to all of these animals? What's so important? What, Gracie? Well, why is it important? I mean, what do they have to do?
Eat and drink.
They have to eat and drink, but who do they have to communicate that to?
The Lorax.
The once-ler. Okay, tell the once-ler to stop cutting down the trees and making the yucky gas and smog and glue. Glubbity glub, that's what it was. If they didn't stop doing that, what was going to happen to all the animals? Good. So each animal had the important statement of making sure that the once-ler knew not to cut down the trees. So you guys identified that statement. The third thing you looked at was, why was the truffle tree so important to your animal? Dave, you've gone in and you have established or you have identified the points of view of two different characters from two different books. You identified text evidence to support why these characters need those trees. Now, we're going to make a connection between the two books. In the story, what is the point of view? In the story, what is the point of view of both authors that are writing this story? What you think the point of view is. What is the opinion of the authors about the trees? Partner 2, start talking with your neighbors.
Survive. All right, so Electra, do you agree or disagree? You agree? Why do you agree, PJ?
Because without a home, they won't
All right, so they needed to keep safe and have a home. So what point of view are you going to write? What the author's point of view is. So writing that in your point of view.
Once they're cutting down all the trees, and the K-pop says the animals didn't want Cinderella to cut down the tree because that was their home where they get the food. Their winter dinner. Trees are important because it puts water, oxygen, and
Point of view is what? Trees are what? Because what?
Evidence from the great K-pop tree that supports the point of view. So right now with your partners, grab a K-pop tree. And we are skimming and scanning through this book to find a detail, a piece of evidence that proves our answer to be right. As your group gets finished up with the K-pop tree, we're getting that piece of evidence from the Lorax.
My poor swans, why they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has small So we need to write, these swans has small
Good luck, boys, he cried, and he sent them away. So what does this prove? Why did they have to go away?
because they had tummies in the tummies.
because they didn't have any food.
They didn't have any food because the trees were gone. Very good. So where are we going to put that piece of evidence at?
Right here.
In the Lorax.
Piece of evidence that supported their point of view in the great K-pop tree and in the Lorax. You are establishing your own point of view. So this is individual effort. That means if I walk around, I'm going to see Drayson working by himself to find those clues and his point of view. Okay? Same thing with Maddie. I will come around to you if you need help. Just wave at me or put 3 fingers in the air, okay? Any questions? All right, you may start. What effect did that point of view have on others? What happened as a result of what that character thought? Today's lesson, what did we identify for the characters? I love how Electra's hand is raised. What did we identify, Electra?
What we need the trees for, why characters need them.
Okay, so we identified the purpose for the trees and why the characters wanted it. But what did we call that? We identified the characters' what?
Point of view.
Point of view. Very good, Rebecca. 2 books to see what both characters thought about trees. What's the last thing that you did today after you compared those 2 points of view to determine
Your point of view.
your own point of view? And with each part today, you've identified evidence that supported your answers. You guys did a fabulous job. You have made my heart happy.